Welcome, deep divers, to another journey back in time. Today, we're looking at the ancient world through, well, through the eyes of its birds.
It's a fascinating lens, isn't it?
It really is. Imagine this. You're stepping into a Roman dining room, a triclinium, this fancy villa via Ardeatina, way back, first quarter of the 1st century BCE.
Okay, setting the scene.
And you look down, and there's this mosaic floor. But it's not just any mosaic. It's made with these tiny, tiny stones. Opus vermiculatum, they call them.
Right, incredibly detailed work.
And what it shows is just, wow. It's this moment, frozen in time, a cat, like totally coiled, ready to pounce on this bird.
Yeah, that mosaic. Yes, it's stunning, almost like a photograph, the tension in it.
Exactly, and it just makes you think, what's the story? Was it a pet? Just like nature happening in the house.
And that's the key, isn't it? It's not just decoration. It tells us so much about how they saw nature, animal behavior, how humans and animals sort of live together.
Right. It's a perfect starting point for what we're doing today, because that's our mission for this deep dive. We're digging into everything, ancient texts, historical art, modern research too, trying to understand how ancient Greeks and Romans saw birds, how they depicted them.
We want to pull out the really key bits of knowledge, maybe some surprising facts, and give you those cultural insights, sort of a shortcut to getting, well-informed on this.
Yeah, a shortcut through history and nature and art all mixed together.
And it's quite a journey. We'll look at how hard it was for them to even, identify species sometimes.
Which seems simple now, but wasn't then, right?
Not at all. And then the roles birds played in myths, daily life, food, art, obviously, right up to when modern bird illustration really started taking off.
It's a huge story. Curiosity, science, art, all focused on feathers.
Exactly. So where do we start? How did they even talk about these creatures?
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that. The language they used, the descriptions,
Yeah.
the whole feathered lexicon, if you will.
Feathered lexicon.
Yeah.
Unpacking ancient descriptions and identifications.
So to really get a grip on how the ancients documented birds, we need a starting point, a way to decode what they wrote. And for this field, there's one book that's just indispensable.
Ah, you must mean Arnott's Birds in the Ancient World from A to Z.
That's the one. W. Jeffrey Arnott, 2007. It's kind of like the Rosetta Stone for ancient bird names.
It really is a monumental piece of work. What Arnott did, which is so crucial, is he made it accessible. Before him, you'd need, fluent classical Greek and Latin just to start.
Which most of us don't have, let's be honest.
Right. So he transliterates all the Greek names into English script. And then he compiles what all the classical writers, Aristotle, Pliny, everyone said about each bird, and presents it in clear English. It's a game changer.
So it bridges that huge linguistic gap.
Totally. But it's more than just translation. He connects all that classical scholarship with modern ornithology, the stuff we've learned in the last, say, 70 years.
Okay, so linking past observations with current science.
Exactly. But so we're not just reading what Aristotle thought he saw. Arnott helps us understand what species he was actually likely describing based on modern knowledge. That gives us way more confidence when we're reading these ancient texts.
But that confidence is key, yeah. Especially with someone like Aristotle. I mean, he was one of the earliest great observers of the natural world.
Phenomenal mind.
Let's look at his description of the Agocephalus.
Yeah.
The name literally means goat head.
Right. Which immediately gives you a visual clue.
But Aristotle went deeper. His anatomical notes are surprisingly specific for, 2,400 years ago.
They really are. He noted things like it didn't have a spleen. Its gallbladder was close to the liver and the stomach. The lower stomach was wider.
Yeah.
These are detailed internal observations.
Without modern dissection kits or anything.
Exactly. And if you combine those internal details with the name goat head, which suggests, raised feathery tufts like ears, maybe beard-like feathers under the chin.
Kind of like an owl.
Precisely. It points strongly towards owls. Things like the Scops owl, the Eurasian eagle owl, the long-eared owl. They all have those characteristic features.
But didn't some of those owls already have other Greek names? Like Aescops or Bias?
They did, which is fascinating because it suggests the ancients weren't just saying owl. They were actually trying to differentiate between different types of owls, even if their system wasn't like our modern taxonomy. It really shows Aristotle's sharp eye for detail.
Pretty amazing. Careful observation. Even back then.
His method was groundbreaking, and he didn't just describe, he challenged common beliefs, like his work on the coccyx, the common cuckoo. His account is incredibly good, mostly accurate even today.
Okay, the cuckoo. What was the common belief he tackled?
Well, there was this widespread idea that the cuckoo actually turned into a sparrowhawk in the spring and then changed back in the autumn.
Oh, like a shapeshifter. Why did they think that?
Probably because they look a bit similar, size, general shape, flight pattern, but Aristotle wasn't buying it.
So how did he debunk it?
Yeah,
Just by looking closely.
pretty much, yeah. He systematically compared them. He noted the similarities, sure, but then pointed out the key differences. Sparrowhawks have those sharp, curved talons for catching prey. Cuckoos don't.
Right. Different tools for different jobs.
Exactly. He also said the cuckoo's head shape was more like a pigeon's, not a hawk's sharp profile. And the markings, yeah, similar color, but hawks had stripes, cuckoos had spots.
Okay, so detailed observation.
And here's the kicker. He observed that sparrowhawks actually hunted cuckoos. And, well, birds don't usually prey on their own kind. It was logical deduction based on evidence.
That's basically the scientific method in action, isn't it?
It really is. Observation, comparison, logical reasoning to challenge a popular myth. It's quite sophisticated.
So what was the most amazing part of his cuckoo description?
Oh, definitely his identification of brood parasitism.
Brood parasitism, meaning?
Meaning he correctly observed that the cuckoo lays its eggs in the nests of other, smaller birds. He even named some of the victims, like pipits, anthus, and buntings, emberiza, basically tricking other birds into raising its chicks.
He figured that out. Back then, that's incredible.
It is. And his observations were so good that later Roman writers like Aelian and Pliny pretty much just repeated them, maybe adding a little extra flourish. It shows the power of his work.
What a mind. But, okay, not all ancient descriptions were that clear or accurate, were they? Sometimes things got a bit muddy.
Oh, definitely. It wasn't always rigorous science. Sometimes it was more poetic or based on folklore or just plain confusing. Aelian's Agrias, the hunter, is a good example.
The hunter. What was the story there?
Aelian describes it as a blackbird related to the blackbird, Cocyphus, and it has this beautiful, tuneful song.
Okay, sounds nice so far.
But here's the twist. The song isn't for mating. It supposedly attracts smaller birds, which the Agrias then hunts and eats.
Whoa, like a feathered siren, using its song as a lure.
Exactly. And then, to add another layer of mystery, Aelian says if you catch one and put it in a cage, it stops singing completely.
Huh. So trying to identify that must be tricky. What have people suggested?
Well, some older ideas don't quite fit. The Indian myna was suggested, but mynas don't hunt other birds. Their song isn't usually called tuneful, and they definitely sing in cages.
Okay, so not the myna. What else?
The ring ouzel was another idea. It lives in Greece, has a song, but again, it doesn't prey on small birds, so still not quite right.
So is there a better candidate for this musical predator?
The most plausible one seems to be the masked shrike, Lanius nubicus.
A shrike? Okay, tell me more.
Well, it's smaller than a blackbird, which fits Aelian's related to description. It's got a black crown and back. It does have a pleasing warbling song, though it mixes in harsher notes too. And crucially, shrikes are hunters of small birds. They even impale their prey on thorns.
Ah, the butcher bird. Okay, that fits the hunting part. And the song.
It fits reasonably well.
Yeah.
So the masked shrike seems like a pretty good match for Aelian's mysterious hunter.
It's like detective work, piecing these clues together. But sometimes the clues themselves seem contradictory, right? Like descriptions that mix features from totally different animals.
Exactly. Like the Elaphus, the deer bird, described by Dionysius. This one's a real puzzle.
Deer bird. What did Dionysius say about it?
He gave it two key features that just don't belong together in one bird. First, feathers on its back that supposedly look like deer hair.
Okay, weird texture. What's the second thing?
Second, he said it behaves like the wryneck, inyx, having a very long tongue, which it drops into water to catch fish.
Wait, deer hair feathers and a long fishing tongue. That sounds impossible.
Pretty much. It shows how ancient descriptions could be composite sketches. The wryneck does have a super long tongue, but it uses it for ants and trees, not fish in water.
Right.
And the hair-like feathers in fishing, that sounds more like, say, an egret. They have those plume-like feathers, and they definitely eat fish.
So Dionysius basically mashed together features from maybe a wryneck and an egret or something similar.
It looks that way. It tells us their focus wasn't always on strict species ID like ours. They were interested in striking features, behaviors. And sometimes they combined observations, maybe from different sources or regions, into one description. It's a different way of organizing knowledge.
Fascinating. It really highlights the interpretation challenge.
Yeah.
And then you get things like the Charistios, the Christian birds from Euboea that could supposedly fly through fire.
Yeah, Salinas wrote about those, birds flying into flames unharmed. Sounds like pure myth, doesn't it?
Immediately makes you think of the phoenix.
Right, the ultimate firebird. Pliny even mentions an Iris incendiaria, a firebird, maybe linked to the phoenix, or perhaps this spinternix thing he mentions, which might just be a bird seen near smoke.
So was it just confusion with the phoenix myth?
Probably a mix of things, but there's another creature that might be the real source. The pyralis, or pyrodicon, meaning firebread.
Firebread, not a bird then.
Nope. Pliny describes this as a four-legged insect, specifically a type of buprestid beetle, genus Melangophila.
An insect that likes fire.
Exactly. These beetles were seen flying right into the flames of copper foundries in Cyprus, totally unharmed. They actually have infrared sensors to find freshly burnt trees, which is where they lay their eggs.
Wow. So the Christian birds were probably these fire-loving beetles, mistaken for birds or conflated with the phoenix myth.
That seems the most likely explanation. It's a great example of how myth, misidentification, and genuine, albeit unusual, natural phenomena could get tangled up in ancient accounts.
It really underscores the detective work needed. Now, another challenge was just the sheer number of names for the same bird, right? Dialects, spelling variations.
Oh, absolutely. A real babble of names, as you say. The kinklos, which we know as the wagtail, is a classic example.
Wagtail. How many names did it have?
Loads. Kinklos, kichlos, kigelos. That list goes on. Makes it tough to be sure you're talking about the same bird initially.
So how did they pin it down? What were the key clues?
Aristotle helps again. He says it's smaller than a thrush, lives near inland water, and the crucial bit, it wags its tail.
Ah, the defining characteristic. You can't miss that wagging.
Exactly. Alien added more color, said it lived by the sea too, was hard to catch but easy to tame, and just couldn't keep its hind parts still.
He really captured that constant motion.
So much so that they even derived a verb from it, kinkless, which meant to constantly change or to move the rump. It shows how distinctive that behavior was.
That's brilliant. So which specific wagtail is it?
It's definitively identified as the white wagtail, Motacilla alba alba. Fits perfectly. It's about 18 centimeters long, smaller than a thrush. It has those unique displays, ducking, raising its head, jumping up.
I've seen them do that.
Yeah. And they live near water, coastal or inland. They are quite tame, often nest near houses, so they'd be very familiar.
Which makes one of Alien's comments a bit weird, doesn't it?
Right. His claim that the kinklos was a brood parasite like the cuckoo. Given how common and familiar the white wagtail is, that's considered an amazing error. Maybe confusion with another bird or just a mistake.
Interesting. And there was a proverb, too.
Yeah. Poorer than a kinklos, probably because it's quite slender, not much meat on it, suggesting it wasn't very valuable as food.
It's amazing how much culture gets wrapped up in these descriptions. But okay, sometimes, even with details, the mystery remains. Like Pliny's new birds, the new ois.
Yes. Pliny the Elder writes about these birds showing up near Cremona in North Italy, spring of 69 AD, a specific time and place.
What did he say they were like?
He said they looked like thrushes, were a bit smaller than doves, and apparently tasted good when cooked.
Useful information. And Tacitus added something, too.
Yeah, Tacitus noted they were incredibly tame. They'd just perch in a grove, not scared of people at all, like they hadn't encountered humans before.
So, new, tasty, tame birds. Sounds like a puzzle. Have we figured out what they were?
Not definitively, no. It's still debated. The gray partridge has been suggested because they were expanding into Italy around that time. But partridges don't really look like thrushes, and they don't perch in trees.
Okay. Doesn't quite fit. Any other ideas?
Pallas's sand grouse is another candidate. These birds sometimes have massive eruptions out of Asia into Europe, including northern Italy.
Okay, that fits the new arrival part.
Yes, but again, they don't look like thrushes, they don't perch, and they aren't smaller than doves. They might tolerate people from a distance, but Tacitus's description sounds much tamer.
So Pliny's new birds remain a mystery.
Pretty much. We just don't have enough information, or the descriptions don't perfectly match any known species or event. It's a good reminder that we don't have all the answers, even with relatively detailed ancient accounts.
Wings of culture, birds in ancient life, myth and practicality.
Okay, so identifying them was one thing. But these birds were clearly much more than just items in a catalog. They were part of the fabric of ancient life, weren't they? Food, resources.
Absolutely fundamental. You have to remember, their access to protein wasn't like ours. Birds were a really important part of the diet for many.
Let's start with one that sounds quite specific. The Chenian. Salted quail.
That's right. Originally an Egyptian thing, kenu just means salt-dried meat, but it specifically came to mean salted common quail.
Quail. They migrate, right. So easy pickings at certain times.
Exactly. They cross the Mediterranean in huge numbers. People trap them on an industrial scale, especially in autumn. We're talking thousands in a single day on some Greek islands, even into the 20th century.
Wow. So this wasn't just a casual snack.
Not at all. For some communities, particularly on islands, salted quail was likely the main source of meat to get them through the winter. It was a vital resource, and the practice of netting them still exists in some places.
Incredible scale. What about other birds? Ducks seem obvious.
Yeah, ducks were definitely on the menu. Names like boscas and foscas appear in texts, maybe distinguishing wild from domestic or different species. We see the common teal a lot in art.
Whereabouts?
Egyptian tomb paintings, Beni Hassan, Thebes, Roman mosaics, like in Pompey's House of the Faun. And archaeologists find teal bones at Roman sites in Britain, too, so clearly widespread as food. The shell duck also shows up in Egyptian art.
Okay, so quail and ducks for the pot. What about pigeons or doves, the parastera? They seem a bit different.
They were definitely eaten, especially the young ones, squabs, fattened up, were a delicacy. And their eggs, too.
Yeah.
But yeah, pigeons were more versatile. They were domesticated all over.
Used for other things besides food.
Oh, yeah. They were used as decoys to trap other birds, and famously as messengers. For Recreatix, Frontinus, Pliny, they all talk about using pigeons to carry messages, especially military or urgent news.
Carrier pigeons. That's amazing.
It is. And a good pair, well-bred and trained, could be really expensive, so definitely valued beyond just being food.
Now for something completely different, the ostrich. Strothos number 2. Not exactly flying over Athens, right?
No. Definitely more exotic. The ostrich, Struthiocamelus, was a big deal, mainly in North Africa and the Near East, and surprisingly important.
As food, those eggs are huge.
Massive, like 24 chicken eggs. Tribes in North Africa, like the Garamantes, ate them and used the shells for cups or even hats. Very resourceful. Indian kings supposedly ate the eggs too.
And the bird itself.
Yep. Guests of Persian kings ate ostrich. Ethiopian tribes did. Apparently, Firmus, a Roman prefect in Egypt, claimed he ate a whole ostrich every day, though that might be a slight exaggeration.
Just slightly. An ostrich a day. Wow. But they were used for more than food, weren't they?
Oh, absolutely. Their size and speed made them useful. People rode them. They were even harnessed to chariots.
Seriously? Ostrich chariots?
Yes. Ptolemy Philadelphus had a grand procession in Alexandria, 271 or 70 BC, featured 8 pairs of ostriches pulling chariots. Imagine seeing that.
That would be a sight. What else?
Their skins made tough shields for the Garamantes. Ethiopians used the skins for clothes and blankets. They were really a multi-purpose status symbol: speed, power, resources.
Amazing versatility. Okay, so from food and transport to
Yep.
myth and magic, birds were huge in ancient beliefs, weren't they? Omens, symbols.
Deeply woven into their worldview. The Peleus, the rock dove, again, is a prime example. It had profound sacred connections, especially to Aphrodite and Venus, goddesses of love. This seems to have been inherited from the Syrian goddess Astarte, showing that cultural blending.
And lots of myths involved doves.
So many. Transformations were common. Tassila, dying in childbirth, becomes a dove. Telia, a devotee of Venus, commits suicide and becomes one. Zeus supposedly turned into a dove to woo Phthia. Semiramis, the legendary queen, was fed by doves as a baby and later turned into one.
And the flood story connection.
Yes, Deucalion's flood story, the Greek equivalent of Noah, also features a dove, bringing back proof that the waters were receding, a symbol of survival and hope.
They even started wars.
Apparently, one story claims that Peristera caused a war between the Chaonians and Illyrians. Details are fuzzy, but it shows their perceived influence. And on the flip side, the proverb, gentler than a Peristera, shows their association with peace.
They really covered the spectrum. And Aesop used them in fables too, right?
Lots of them. The dove rescuing an ant, who later saves the dove. Classic reciprocity. Another dove gets hurt trying to reach a painting of water, showing foolishness. And the doves who make a treaty with a kite, who then eats them a warning about bad alliances. They were perfect vehicles for moral lessons.
But not all birds were gentle symbols. The bias, the eagle owl, had a much darker reputation for the Romans.
Oh, yes. If a bias hooted from your roof, it was considered a terrible omen, meaning someone connected to the house was about to die.
Seriously, that specific.
Very specific. Virgil and Ovid both mention this belief. It really highlights how birds, especially nocturnal ones, were seen as messengers, often of bad news or fate.
Chilling. What about the ibex? That name was puzzling, wasn't it? Found in dictionaries, but not much else.
Exactly. It's a lexical ghost almost. The best theory connects it to the crane via the story of the poet Ibycus.
Remind me of that story.
Ibycus was murdered by robbers. As he died, he saw a flock of cranes fly over and called out to them to be his witnesses. Later, the robbers were in a theater, saw cranes flying overhead, and one blurted out, "Look, the cranes of Ibycus," which gave them away.
Ah, divine avian justice.
Kind of. And cranes are loud, especially migrating flocks. Homer and Hesiod mention their deafening noise. So it makes sense that such a dramatic story linked to such noisy birds would stick.
Makes sense. The ostrich pops up in fables, too.
It does. Its odd looks probably help. One Aesop fable has an ostrich living by just one myrtle tree, never moving far, so it gets easily caught by a hunter. The moral, don't get too comfortable.
Okay, and the other one?
It's from a later Byzantine collection. An ostrich is caught in a war between animals and birds. It tricks both sides, shows its head to the birds. See, not a bird?
Yep.
And its feet to the animals. See, I'm an animal. Very cunning.
Clever bird. Even tiny birds could have significance, like the winter wren, the trochilus. It was considered oracular.
Plutarch claims so. And it makes sense. When you hear its call, it's incredibly loud and complex for such a small bird. Very distinctive. So the ancients might well have thought such a powerful voice from a tiny creature must carry some special message or meaning.
It really shows they were paying attention to everything, big and small. Now, let's touch on some of the unseen roles, cultural quirks, environmental interactions, like the nycteris, the bat. Not technically a bird, but often grouped with them.
Right. Aristotle knew they weren't birds, noted the leathery wings, weak daytime sight. But yeah, often discussed alongside flying things. People saw them roosting under city walls, like Xenophon noted.
And Pliny had some interesting ideas about them.
He did, claiming they attacked stork eggs and were hostile to ants. Which is funny because actually some bats do eat night-flying ants, so maybe a grain of truth mixed with observation there.
And then there are the wilder stories.
Oh yeah. Herodotus tells this amazing story about bat-like creatures screeching and attacking the eyes of people harvesting cinnamon in Arabia.
Sounds terrifying. True.
Pliny thought it was nonsense. He basically said the cinnamon traders made it up to justify high prices. Look how dangerous it is to get this stuff. It shows a bit of ancient cynicism about market economics. Bats also got tied up in, mystical or Kabbalistic beliefs too. Creatures of the night.
It's fascinating how they mixed observation with myth and even economics, and this whole effort trying to understand, catalog, make sense of the natural world. It reminds me of something modern, this Reddit user, Teach Off the Year.
Ah, yes. Doing incredible work with illustrated guides for autistic people visiting museums. How does that connect?
Well, think about what those guides do. They break down a potentially stressful, unfamiliar experience step by step. Here's the entrance, here's the ticket line, give your ticket to this person, walk here, see this. It pre-teaches the visit, reduces anxiety, makes learning possible.
Okay, I see. Providing a clear map for navigating something complex.
Exactly. And isn't that, in a way, what all these ancient descriptions, observations, myths, and fables were doing? They were creating a map, a guide for understanding the natural world around them.
Like a cultural pre-teaching tool for nature.
Precisely. Whether it's Aristotle detailing the cuckoo, or beliefs about the eagle owl as an omen, or fables about doves, it gave people a framework. How to interpret what they saw, how to interact with it, what it meant in their world.
Even if some of the facts were wrong by our standards.
Right. The underlying goal was often about demystifying, preparing, integrating nature into their culture, making sense of it all. It's the same fundamental human drive, whether it's Aristotle observing birds or a modern teacher creating a museum guide. It's about understanding and sharing knowledge to navigate our world.
That's a really powerful connection. Seeing ancient natural history as a form of societal sense-making.
Birds and art, a visual legacy across millennia.
So they wrote about birds, they used them, they told stories about them, and thankfully for us, they also painted and sculpted and made mosaics of them. This visual legacy is just incredible.
It really is. And often the art is so detailed it helps us identify species, sometimes even better than the written descriptions can. It's another vital piece of the puzzle.
And we can loop right back to where we started, that amazing Roman mosaic.
The cat and bird scene, yeah. From that villa on Via Ardeatina, 1st century BCE, the detail in that opus vermiculatum is stunning. It just freezes that moment of predator and prey.
It feels so alive. A real snapshot.
And it shows how skilled they were at capturing naturalism, the world as they saw it. Maybe it was just a common scene, maybe it had deeper meaning, but the observation is spot on.
And sometimes the art is almost like a scientific illustration itself, like the painting of the hawfinch.
Oh yeah, from the house of M. Lucretius Fronto in Pompeii. It clearly shows a pair of hawfinches eating cherries.
Hawfinch. Big beak, right?
Massive.
Yeah.
Their Greek name, Kokothrastos, means kernel smasher. That painting captures their behavior, their diet perfectly. It's art meeting natural history observation.
Beautiful. And then some birds just appear everywhere in ancient art. Pigeons and doves seem to be the prime example.
They are absolutely ubiquitous, goes way back. There's a fragment from Akhenaten's palace at El Amarna in Egypt, 18th dynasty.
So over 3,300 years ago.
Yep. And it clearly shows a rock dove. You can see the white seer, the wing bars, the neck collar. Amazing detail for that long ago.
And the Romans loved them too, that famous mosaic.
The doves of Pliny from Hadrian's Villa at Tivoli, now in the Capitoline Museums. 4 doves on a bull. It was copied all over the Roman world, became iconic.
And lots of others in Pompeii.
Tons. A boy holding a white dove, a pigeon on a fence, a group of pigeons. They were clearly part of the scenery. Pets, symbols, just everywhere.
Teal and shelducks also keep appearing, you mentioned.
They do. In Egyptian tombs, Roman mosaics like the House of the Fawn again. It shows they were familiar, recognizable birds across different cultures and times. Their presence helps us track which species were common.
Now, Egypt, their relationship with birds seems particularly deep and complex, judging by the art.
Oh, profoundly so. Birds were vital in daily life, religion, mythology, funerary beliefs. It's estimated something like 183 different bird species have been identified from Egyptian art and hieroglyphs.
183, that's incredible detail.
It shows a really sophisticated understanding of their environment. Ducks and geese, for instance, crucial food, yes, but also symbols of fertility, life. We see amazing paintings like the geese of Madam from the Old Kingdom, so lifelike.
And cranes, you said they were even semi-domesticated.
Yeah, during the Old Kingdom, they show up in farm scenes being fattened for food or sacrifice. Ramses III apparently donated 160 cranes to a temple. They were even kept as pets. Tomb paintings, like from Teta's tomb at Saqqara, show them beautifully.
Those tomb paintings are just stunning.
Yeah.
And the big mural at Amarna.
The Amarna Palace bird mural from the Green Room, again, 3,300 years old, showing this vibrant scene of birds in the marshes, really captures the ecosystem.
And the ostrich was big in Egyptian art, too.
Very popular, symbol of speed, chaos sometimes. We see hunts depicted, like on Tutankhamun's fan. We see captured ostriches, their eggs, their plumes used in rituals. They feature heavily.
It really feels like birds were woven into every aspect of Egyptian culture, and this artistic tradition kept going, evolving through Byzantine times and beyond.
Absolutely. Art styles changed, but birds remain important subjects, like that Byzantine mosaic duck from Greece around 600 CE, now in Thessaloniki. Simple, elegant, still focused on the bird.
And the peacock, Taurus, that must have been a visually stunning subject. And symbolic, too.
Hugely symbolic, especially in early Christian art. It became an emblem of everlasting life, resurrection, probably because of its incredible plumage and the way it molts and regrows feathers.
Where do we see peacocks depicted?
Everywhere. Pompeii, wall paintings, mosaics in Cyprus, Tunisia, North Africa, showing that amazing tail spread, carved onto sarcophagi, on ivory thrones like Maximianus's in the 6th century, even on everyday oil lamps.
Statues, too?
Yep, terracotta statues,
Right.
arrows driving a chariot pulled by peacocks, and those huge bronze peacocks from Hadrian's mausoleum, now in the Vatican. They were a powerful, widespread symbol of immortality and divine beauty.
Wow, from everyday gov to a mortal peacock. But then you also get the purely fantastical creatures like the hippolyctron,
Yeah.
horsecock.
Huh. Yes, a fabulous monster. Part horse, part cock, 4 legs, wings, cock's tail. Pure Greek imagination.
Where did that show up?
Mostly on Greek art, from about 575 to 480 BC. You see it on paintings of ships, on standards, on shields, like Athena's shield on one vase painting.
So maybe protective, like a good lush charm.
Quite possibly. Its appearance on shields suggests an apotropaic function, warding off evil. It's a great example of them combining familiar animal parts to create something totally new and symbolic.
Amazing imagination. And even later, in medieval times, really unexpected birds appear in art. You mentioned cockatoos. In Europe.
It's one of the most surprising finds. In Frederick II's book on falconry, De Arte Venandi cum Avibus from the 1240s.
A serious scientific work for its time.
Very much so. Over 900 drawings. And incredibly, 4 of them depict marginal cockatoos.
But cockatoos are from Australia and nearby islands. How did they end up in a 13th century European manuscript?
That's the million-dollar question. It hints at trade routes or lines of communication we barely understand, maybe via Middle Eastern trade. It's astonishing. That book itself is a treasure, now in the Vatican Library.
Mind-blowing. A cockatoo in medieval Italy. It feels like we're getting closer to modern ornithological art, where accuracy is paramount.
Exactly. That shift really accelerates in the 18th century. Before then, art was often stylized, symbolic. But around the 1700s, artists start depicting birds with much more scientific precision, showing them in their natural habitats.
The goal changed. Not just beauty, but identification and study.
Precisely. Art became a tool for science, and a key figure here was Theodor Jasper.
Theodor Jasper, tell me about him.
German artist, born 1814, he had incredible skill and a real passion for birds. His illustrations are known for their composition, coloring, and crucially, their anatomical accuracy.
And he worked on a famous book.
Yes, he was the main artist for Studer's popular ornithology, The Birds of North America, published 1878. It had 119 beautiful color plates, chromolithographs. They weren't just pictures, they were detailed visual records.
Must have been revolutionary for studying birds back then.
Absolutely. It made detailed information accessible like never before. And it's fascinating some of those original prints, maybe from the first edition, turned up recently with a library stamp from Fitchburg, Massachusetts, dated 1895.
Wow, so his work lived on, used in public libraries.
Exactly. It shows the lasting impact of that move towards accurate, detailed bird illustration, bridging that gap from ancient wonder to modern scientific understanding.
So after diving this deep, what's the big picture? We've gone from tricky ancient IDs, some spot on, some way off, through their roles as food and myths, as omens, practical uses,
Right.
and then trace them through millennia of art, right up to modern scientific illustration. It's quite a sweep.
It really is. And I think the main takeaway is just how integrated birds were into ancient life and thought. They weren't just background decoration. They were actors, symbols, resources, profoundly influential.
And looking at it from their perspective really enriches our view, doesn't it? Seeing early science mixed with myth, art capturing beauty.
Exactly. We see their ingenuity, their curiosity, the sometimes strange ways they made sense of the world. It wasn't our way, but it was their way of understanding and connecting with nature. That blend of observation, culture, and necessity is fascinating.
It leaves you with a thought, doesn't it? These ancient deep dives, even with the myths and mistakes, show this timeless human need to understand our world. Their texts and art were their way of doing it. It makes you wonder, what other hidden details, what other connections between culture and nature are still waiting in those ancient sources?
Waiting for fresh eyes, new tools maybe. How much more is there to uncover about how they saw their world, blending the real and the imagined?
A question that keeps history alive, I suppose. Always more to discover.
Absolutely. The past is never really past, is it? Especially when it comes to our relationship with the natural world. Plenty more digging to do.
Well, until next time, keep looking, keep questioning, keep diving deep.
Indeed. Keep those eyes open and ears too. Catch you on the next dive.